Without further ado, I would like to hand it over to today's presenters, Ellen Osborne and Hayden Poor from Focus. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to them to get us started.
Thanks, Claire, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are really excited to show you a little bit about Aktion Analytics and talk about the partnership between Focus and Aktion and how we can impact your business. Before we jump into all the exciting pieces of Focus, I just want to take a minute to introduce ourselves. My name is Ellen Osborne. I'm an account executive here at Focus. I'm based in Omaha, Nebraska, and I work with all of the prospects and current customers that are part of the Aktion partnership on Sage 100 Contractor, Sage 300 CRE, like yourselves, and Sage Intact. So I'm really excited to be here today with Hayden and teach you about our products. I'll let Hayden introduce himself as well.
Thank you, Ellen. My name is Hayden Poor. My title is Technical Pre-Sales Consultant. So I'll be covering our demo along with answering any technical questions from the audience today. I've been with Focus a little bit over 2 years now, but prior to working here, I was a software developer at NetSuite where I focused on improving usability within ERP systems. But excited to be here and show you the power of Focus today.
Thanks, Hayden. Again, before we jump in, I'll just give a little overview of what we are going to cover today. First off, we want to show you how Aktion Analytics can help Sage 300 CRE users unlock data-driven insights through our intuitive dashboards, built-in KPIs, and customizable reporting. A lot of what you're going to see today is part of our solution that we have with 300 CRE. And hopefully, as Hayden goes through the demo, you will really see how our tool is built for the end user, and it's a very user-friendly platform. Then we're also going to cover how we can blend some operational and financial data on dashboards to give a high-level visibility for project performance. And again, you'll kind of see how this platform can make that all very simple. And then we're also going to touch on how you can budget and forecast on your jobs to just better manage your costs, have good visibility across timelines, and also profitability for your projects. Now, it's important to talk a little bit about the partnership between Focus and Aktion. Obviously, you all have a great Aktion rep that you work with, and I work very closely, along with a few other people at Focus, with the Aktion team to show the customers how we can help you specifically. So obviously today is going to be a generic. You're going to see how we work with 300 CRE across the board, but we work really closely hand in hand with prospects, to really hone in on what you need out of a tool like this. Focus itself, we have about 3,000 customers worldwide, mostly in Australia, the UK, and the US, around 200 Sage customers, and with Aktion specifically, around 40 mutual customers that we work together with. We've been in business about 24, 25 years, and we have a great retention rate that we're really proud of. So anyway, just a little bit about Focus and our partnership. One really important thing that we like to talk about with this partnership is that you kind of get two sets of experts. Focus, we are the experts in data analytics. We have our financial planning and analysis platforms. And then Aktion is, of course, the construction and Sage experts. And so over the past few years, we've put our heads together and built an out-of-the-box solution for Sage 300 CRE. So that includes dashboards, pre-built reports, financial statement automation. All of these different things are what we like to call plug and play. So everything that you're going to see today is pretty easy to spin up out of that 300 CRE environment. And it's something that was built with customers. So we have a very good handle on what you're looking for. And Hayden will show you all of that soon. As you can see here, we work with all of the different Sage products. Obviously, today we're focusing on Sage 300 CRE. In the middle of this slide, you will see all of the different modules that we offer. Today, we're going to talk mostly about our analytics module. And so for CRE, that's looking at things like your job cost. We also have AR, AP, lots of different ways to view your data. And then we also have a financial statements product, budgets and forecasts, rebates, and a CRM. And the great thing about putting all of these into one platform is that we can really work across all of the different departments within a business. So businesses like yours, obviously going up from the owner and the COO, through your accounting and finance departments. And on this screen, we have a sales rep. For you, that might be a project manager, sales managers, and then, of course, your operational teams as well. So some things that we come across in terms of different challenges for Sage users is that, Sage is great at harnessing all of your data into one spot, but sometimes you don't have the right visibility right at your fingertips. So you're relying on exporting data into spreadsheets, which obviously we know then your reports are going to be static. They're generally not automated when you need to send them out to your teams. And a lot of times you're not getting that dashboarding capability that people want. Very often we hear that there's one person within the business who knows how to run these reports, and there can be a bottleneck getting to that gatekeeper who has the ability to run reporting. And so what we try to do is make it accessible for all of those people I mentioned earlier and make it really easy. So again, I mentioned that at the beginning. Something that we're really proud of at Focus is our user adoption. And it's really because the tool is so easy to use. So you'll see that as Hayden starts clicking through and showing you the platform. Now, again, this is just an overview of all of the different things that we offer. Again, today we are going to focus in on job cost analytics, a little bit of forecasting. And Hayden, it might not be a bad idea to just spend a couple minutes on a financial statement in case we have any CFOs in the room. And again, like Claire mentioned, as we go through this, please put any questions in the Q&A, because we do have several companies represented today, and I'm sure you all have different roles within your business, and we want to make sure we can answer questions for all of you, no matter what role you're in for your company. So that's a little introduction of what we're going to cover today. I will let Hayden take it away and show you some of our products. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen. I just want to reiterate, right? We do like to keep these interactive. So at any point, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to just type them in the chat and we can go ahead and answer those. I do have to ask though, are you guys able to see my screen? Did I do it right this time? Are we good to go?
Yes. Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect.
Looks good.
Awesome. Okay. Always got to make sure. All right. So now that we're logged in, right, let's begin at the Focus homepage, right? This is the central hub a user sees when they first enter the platform. So today we're going to focus on how Sage 300 data, especially from the job costing module, is transformed into interactive, actionable analytics with Focus and our Aktion Analytics content pack. At the core of Focus is the database, right? Everything, dashboards, alerts, reports, is powered by the underlying, Sage 300 data. With our pre-built connectors, you're not just starting from scratch. You immediately have access to a rich, curated set of metrics aligned to your job costing environment. But we also know that every business has nuances like custom fields and unique workflows. That's where the Aktion team really excels, tailoring and extending these models to fit your exact needs. So what do we mean by content? When we talk about content, we're referring to databases, right? So these are our core data sources like contracts, estimates, billings, AP, AR, labor. We can also talk about dashboards, right? These are visual summaries combining multiple data sets into a single view. We also have our alerts, So our alerts are notifications triggered by thresholds or changes in project status. And then lastly, we can have our favorites. So these are custom reports saved by end users, and these are auto refreshed nightly. So this approach empowers project managers and financial leaders to monitor key metrics without needing IT intervention. So let's take a look at a project manager dashboard. You can click into this here. So this dashboard consolidates labor, billing, contracts, approvals, really everything a PM needs into a single screen. It's also interactive. So we can filter by project manager, let's say Doug, and instantly be able to drill into just his. Oh, I have two selected there. I'm just going to reset here. Let's just select a single project manager. And now we're just viewing Doug's projects. So these filters can also be saved. So when Doug logs in, he only sees what's relevant to him without needing to click a thing. So here we have our contract versus build graphs. So we can be able to view contract and build data, also being able to look at our estimate versus cost data. And one benefit of Focus is its ability to be able to combine multiple Sage data sets. Right? So like I mentioned before, right, we can be able to compare our original contract versus our build, being able to analyze the estimated versus cost versus our actuals, then also being able to track our open AR versus open AP, and then being able to look at our cash position across our different projects. Here we have a job summary information report. And this report compares estimated costs, commitments, and actual costs for each job, allowing our Sage users to quickly assess project financial performance. It clearly shows how much of the budget has been spent and what remains both in dollars and percentage terms. Negative values highlight any jobs that may have exceeded their committed or estimated costs, right, helping us flag any potential budget issues early. With this real-time view, project managers and finance teams can make faster, data-backed decisions to help control overspending. It replaces the need to reconcile multiple Sage reports and empowers users with instant visibility into cost variance by job. Also worth mentioning that each one of these columns can be derived from a separate Sage report, but Focus really aligns them by job to be able to provide a 360-degree financial picture without having to export to Excel or merging any reports manually. Also, all of these widgets are editable, meaning that you can add or remove fields, create custom calculations, or change the layout based on your needs. If we scroll down, here we have a change management report. So again, this is all built from your Sage 300 data, and this is how we can then be able to represent this within the system. So our change management report here really kind of consolidates our job costing data to be able to show original, approved, and revised values for estimates, committed costs, and contracts. It gives project managers and finance teams a clear view of how change orders impact job budgets. Also, by aligning plan versus actual values across all projects, it really helps identify cost overruns or missed approvals early. The interactive real-time nature of Focus means users don't need to run multiple Sage reports or rely on IT. Overall, this empowers teams to manage budgets proactively and make faster, data-driven decisions. I think we have one more in here. We have our contracts and billing report. So what this report shows is like data, right, in a single, easy-to-read view, tracking current contract values, right, our amounts billed, remaining to bill, percent billed, things like that. And what this really does is that it allows project managers and finance users to instantly identify any underbilled jobs, track outstanding balances, and monitor performance without having to pull those multiple Sage reports. The remaining to bill and balance owed columns really kind of help highlight potential cash flow issues before they escalate. Users can also be able to track payment progress and retainage balances across projects, improving transparency and control. So really overall, this report helps Sage users manage billing cycles more efficiently and stay on top of receivables. So we can actually also be able to analyze things beyond financial data. So here we can be able to break down labor by job, right? So we can look at our total hours, our standard hours, our overtime hours, and our double time hours as well. We can also be able to look at our top vendors by spend over time and then be able to analyze this in an interact on this dashboard, and everything really within Focus gets updated based off of these last data refreshes, which we typically run multiple times per day. So every time you log in, you're going to have that up-to-date data to be able to kind of be able to give you that project health very, very easily. Are there any questions so far before I move on to how we actually kind of create these reports and take a deep dive into the database? Ellen, is there anything else worth mentioning you feel on the dashboard side of things?
I think the dashboards are pretty straightforward. One thing I would mention is just there's no limit to how many dashboards you can build in your environment. The solution includes, I believe, 3 or 4, like this project manager dashboard, but you can build more. And they also have user permissions attached to them. So this is a great example. If you don't share information across your project managers, these will be pre-filtered. So I think some of the names at the top, there was like a Doug and a Mike. Maybe if you have 10 PMs and you only want them to see their own data, it will come in pre-filtered. So in this case, yeah, Doug will only see his own data. Mike would only see his. But maybe their manager would see the entire dashboard. So you're not building multiple dashboards for every person. And then I know there's like an executive dashboard that's included that is more like high level financial information. And I believe a labor dashboard as well is part of the solution. So again, there's no limit to how many you can build, and they're very customizable in terms of how you lay them out, how you want the visualizations to look. I know that there are a lot of programs out there that they might offer dashboards, but you cannot change how they look. Ours, you can build your own and change them as you wish. So that's all I would add for dashboards. I haven't seen any questions come through yet. I guess the last thing I would say, actually, if you want to just scroll down a little bit, one of the people at Focus that helped build this, he kind of refers right here, I think this one, or maybe it's the next widget down. He kind of describes these grid views as the holy grail, that when they were building this with the customers, that being able to put all of this in one spot side by side, as Hayden described, is very tricky when you need to do that in Sage. It's export, 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 merge them all together into an Excel spreadsheet, where here you can bring all of those streams of data side by side. And I know next you're probably going to show that database, so you'll get a sneak peek of how easy it is to put those together. So I'll let you take it back.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen. That's actually a great segue into my next part, which is actually taking a look at the database that these reports were built off of. So I have this open in another tab here. So I'm just going to click into my job costing database. So this is the Focus database, right? This is where users will spend most of their time. This is where we can then be able to build out those custom types of reports, being able to run our custom analysis, right? Keeping our finger on the pulse, really understanding that project health. So up at the top here, we have our filters. So our filters change the way that our data is presented back to us. So right now we're just looking at our contract amount, and we're looking at that in our job to date period. But like I mentioned before, right, we can actually bring in multiple, many different types of data into the system to be able to run these different types of reports and understand different aspects of the business. So if I actually select my stream mode here, here's where we can see that illustrated. So right now we're just looking at our contract stream, but we can actually be able to look at work billed, retainage billed, cash received, estimate, commitment, right? A number of different data streams that we can then be able to pull into the system directly from Sage 300, right? And then be able to build out custom reports on top of that. So over here on the left, I have my dimensions. So my dimensions represent different analysis points that I have, right, within my Sage 300 instance. So we can be able to view our different jobs right here, our different job types. So I like to think of each of these as a different type of report. So if I'm on my project manager dimension right here, and let's go back to that Doug example, I can select on anything within this grid here and then click focus. And once I do that, all of the data behind these other dimensions is now just filtered to Doug. So now I can click on my job right here, and I can see to Doug. Let's say if I want to view the status underneath that, right, we can see, all right, the total contract amount in progress versus unstarted here. So we can be able to use our dimensions and our filters to really start being able to slice and dice the data so that we can then be able to kind of conduct our analysis and then ultimately build reports on top of that. So one thing about Focus is that Focus is a read-only tool. So when we're in here slicing and dicing, let's just say I have my Doug project manager, my Doug job report. What I can then do is actually be able to save this as a favorite. And what this will do is honor all of those selections, and all of this data will then get refreshed nightly. So what we can then do, right, is let's say we've saved this as a favorite. What we can then do is actually just simply be able to go and reset. And this takes us back to square one. So if we wanted to take a deeper look at one of these jobs, right, we can select our specific jobs here and then be able to slice and dice on top of this, or we can actually be able to open up our job analysis dashboard. So this is a dashboard that is specific to this job, right? So I believe that this is dementia wing for St. Joe's, right? So we can actually be able to see this. We're just looking at demo data here. So we can be able to see, project or job specific KPIs for this, right? And we can actually be able to see this kind of all in one place. So if I'm the project manager for this specific job, right, I can log into Focus, right, and then easily be able to kind of get a handle on, my costs and being able to understand things here, right? We're just looking at, let's say, like our cost variances in different categories, right? We can easily be able to then go in and interact with these different types of things within here. Yeah, I think we have our different charge codes as well. So this is just very representative of those different types of data that you have within your Sage 300 environment. And ultimately, right, do kind of want to reiterate the point that we have a full-fledged solution for Sage 300, right? This is a plug-and-play solution, right? We have a number of customers, great value out of that as well. So Ellen did mention before kind of the holy grail of job costing reports. And I think I would be really remiss if I didn't actually go ahead and show that. So just in the next tab over here, this is where I have that report open. Right, so then this is where we can view kind of that job costing summary. So this is really just kind of like a job matrix report, right? So this can be really helpful to Sage 300 users, right? It provides that full financial overview of each project really in one place. So this can look at contract values, budgets, profit margins, actual costs, cost variances, things like that, really just allowing teams to track both revenue and expense performance. So users can really kind of instantly see which jobs are running at a loss, right? These would anything be highlighted in red, or where budgets have shifted and how actual costs are really kind of comparing to any projections. So this really simplifies complex financial monitoring, right? By really eliminating the need to reconcile data across multiple Sage modules or spreadsheets. This really is that single source of truth. And this report really helps support better project forecasting, profitability analysis, and faster decision-making across finance and operations. So this is the analytics side of things. Are there any questions so far? Or Ellen, do you think there's anything worth mentioning just kind of in the databases before I move over to budgeting and job forecasting?
Yeah. This is great. I hope everyone is seeing and understanding just kind of like I mentioned earlier, that ease of use, clicking a button, it's very fast and intuitive to kind of start slicing and dicing the data. If you want to go back into the original database instead of the saved favorite here, one thing that people love when I demo this to Aktion customers is the ability to drill down. So a lot of times when you're looking at your reporting, whether it be job reporting, financial reporting, you get one of these cells and then you just are wondering, well, what made up this cell? And then you have to go back into Sage and dig really deep. Here, all Hayden did was chose the cell. He right-clicked to transaction mode. And here, now we can see all 9 transactions that made up that cell for that job. So it really takes the questions and the mystery out of the numbers, you can easily validate your data and dig into it at that invoice line level. You can add a lot of data here as well, so we can see on this particular drill down, it's even showing a description of each of these lines. So we know what job we're on, the description of the charge, all of these different things. You can get a lot of data in one spot. And so again, it's just providing as much detail as possible for you and your teams instead of toggling back and forth between, Excel and Sage 300 CRE. So that is, I think, the gist of, at a high level, I would call it, the different things you can do in analytics. One other report that I showed recently on a demo that I thought was pretty cool that might be worth showing here, Hayden, was just if you want to clear out the job filter that you have right now and kind of just go back to that main screen, we have something called nesting. And nesting is a really nice way to report. And I think if I remember right, it was they wanted to see all of their jobs by their costs. What is it? Cost type, cost category. So they could see what was making up the totals. So let's see here. I think maybe, the other way. There we go.
No, we don't have. This is always one of the best parts about using demo data. I think we have project manager in here, so I hope maybe this can illustrate the same point. So just like we can drag up project manager, and then this is how we can then be able to view project manager, and then we expand this out, see the current jobs.
Is there not enough in the cost category? Sorry, bad example. But even by vendor, any of those dimensions, the illustration, you use your imagination a little bit what you're dragging and dropping, but it just gives you all in the same view, even more detail where you can go from kind of one-dimensional reporting to multi-dimensional. And then again, once you have the view the way you want it, you just save this, and it's a nice way for your teams to view all the data. So that's just one quick example. And I will keep an eye here. I feel like maybe is there a question that came through? Okay, yeah, there is a question. Does this reporting apply to custom reports we may already have? I'm guessing that means custom reports that you've had built in Sage, like maybe through Action. So those would still exist, those aren't going to go anywhere, but generally speaking, we say that we can replicate and automate some reports that you might already have, that you've built custom. And Debbie, if that's not if I'm not understanding your question, feel free to add another note, or we can talk offline and I can make sure to answer that properly. But a lot of the reporting comes out of the box, but 100% you can customize additional reports, and you can even customize bringing in additional data as well. So hopefully that answers your question. And Hayden, I will let you jump over to the budgeting piece.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Ellen. So within Focus, we have multiple different modules. So what we were just been looking at is analytics, which covers more operational data, where we can build out those operational style reports and dashboards. But we also want to take a look at our budgets and forecasts today. So I have a job cost budget actually already opened in this tab right here. So we can click on this. And this is opening up an example job cost budget that I went and created for this demo. So how we have this set up is this actually can sit on top of our job costing database. And how we have this right now is broken up by our individual project managers, and then any jobs that they are specifically responsible for. And then underneath this, I think we can have the individual cost codes for them here as well. So we can actually be able to customize the structure of this budget based off of the data that we're pulling in from Sage 300. So once we pull all that stuff in, we can then be able to enter in our figures here. So this works very similar to Excel. So we can enter things on a cell-like basis. We also support all of the Excel-like formulas within here. So we can actually be able to do a lot within this. We can actually be able to pull in last year's actuals, be able to apply uplifts based off of this, use prorated data within here, basing these off of running very complex calculations. There's a lot that we can do. But ultimately, what we want to do is then be able to publish this budget stream back to the analytics side of the database, right? So then we can ultimately be able to compare our actuals versus our budget. So what we want to do, right, is go in here and then enter this based off of, let's say, specific job and specific project manager, and we can take it down to these very granular levels, right, and kind of be able to understand, how these specific projects are doing, be able to outline that baseline for these budgets. Then ultimately, right, as our actuals come in, right, we have that dynamic data connection with Sage 300, right, being able to see how we're tracking against that. So let's just say within this budget, right, I've gone and completed this. I've entered in, I've assigned this out to Jeff, right? We can assign things out to people within here. So we can actually have multiple people working on these budgets. But I assign all of this out to Jeff. Jeff goes in and enters, his budget for his jobs that he's responsible for 2025, right? We go in and save this budget, right? And then let's say, we're halfway through the year, right? We want to see how Jeff is tracking, right, with his, allotted numbers within here. So what we can do is actually save this as a forecast. I have this open in another tab right here. So if I click on this, this is what our forecasting tab looks like. And the really powerful thing about this is that we have our flagpole right here. So our flagpole allows us to drag and drop this. So we can actually be able to see our actuals versus our budget. So we can see, if we're looking at, like, let's say Jeff right here at the bottom, he was budgeted for, 315,000 for May. But if we scroll this over, right, looks like his actuals came in at 298,000. Right. So if there are discrepancies between what was budgeted and versus what our actuals were, right, this is where we can then actually be able to then go and then update our forecast within here. So if I click on my forecast, and let's just say I can look at, maybe this lot subdivision or, university project 4, right? We can actually be able to scroll this over, right? We can see 187 versus 196. So let's just go and then actually be able to update this. What does that look like? Here's where we can then actually be able to snap to budget, which is really powerful. So this looks at the number of periods remaining and then the difference between the budget, right? So, do we have to kind of cut costs? Can we increase, right? The system will ultimately kind of help us, be able to identify that within here. So that allows us to easily reforecast this. And just like Ellen said, with those dashboards, we can create as many different budgets and forecasts as we would like. And then ultimately, we can publish that back to our main databases. Ellen, I know that you were working with a customer specifically kind of around the job forecasting. Would you like to share kind of any of those insights that you had with that?
Yeah, I've been working with a prospect on a really cool project. And I think it's common. I've heard it a couple times, but I'm in the midst of it now. So it was top of mind. I think this company has, it was like 15 to 20 project managers, which is obviously a pretty good amount. And they ask their PMs to reforecast all of their jobs monthly. But not only do they want them to do that, and this tool is obviously going to make it a lot easier than sharing Excel spreadsheets back and forth. We were joking that they think all of their PMs just attempt to make one little tweak to the Excel spreadsheet so it comes back just a little bit different every time. So this way, it's version control. Everything's in one spot. Everyone can work from one document. But the thing that they loved the most was that every single month, they could save that view and put it back into the database. And then month over month, they would have basically a snapshot of what the project manager was forecasting, reforecasting, by each job to date, again, all in one spot. And it was just going to save them a ton of time and kind of get rid of some of that human error that we know happens sometimes when we're working within Excel. So that was a really fun use case that I thought I would share. And the only other thing I would mention when it comes to the budgets and forecasts is obviously what we're showing here is layering our budget tool on top of the job cost database. But like I mentioned when we first started, we also have a financial statements piece to our platform. I don't know, Hayden, if you want to like pop out the little sidebar. And it's hard to cover it all in one, we really only had 1 hour slated for today. And so we were kind of just trying to focus in on some of the most important things. But a lot of the customers we're working with also use that financial statements module. So what that does is automate your P&L, cash flow statements, balance sheets. We know a lot of construction companies are multi-entity, or you might keep your divisions separate, so you want to run a P&L by each division or each of your business entities. That tool helps people automate that process. So it's very popular with the controller for the company or whoever on the accounting team is in charge of doing all of that. But you can also layer the full company budget on top of the financial statement as well. So again, we don't always have time to go into all of those details, but it's just nice to touch on it briefly so you have a real big picture of all of the different ways we can help the company. So Hayden just opened just kind of a real quick view of this financial statements database. I think there's I think maybe the first one, just the regular financial statement has some data flowing through it. But again, really commonly used when you have, multiple businesses, you want to run a P&L by different departments, different divisions, all those different things. This has the same drill down feature, tons of flexibility. So again, if there's anyone on this call that's in the finance accounting area and you want to learn more about this piece of Focus, we're happy to jump on a separate call and kind of walk you through all the different neat things that this can do.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ellen. I think with that, I will pass it back to you.
Awesome. Okay. So just a couple of slides to show you just, some general stats on how we stack up against, what the competition, right? There's a lot of tools out there that are going to tell you, we can do your data analytics, we can help you with your financials. The great thing about Focus and how we're a little bit different is that we can do it all in one platform. So a lot of times we are competing against Excel. Most people are doing their reporting and their budgeting in Excel. So you can just see a few numbers here of how we stack up from a BARC survey from 2024. Again, you'll get a copy of this too. So don't feel like you have to memorize this. And again, another one, this is a little bit more focused on that budgeting side, just a couple comparisons when it comes to Focus and looking against a couple competitors like Anaplan and Board. A lot of times, like I said, there might be a company that does just the budgeting or just the analytics. And again, we can kind of blend all of that together. We're really excited to be joining the Aktion team next month in Nashville for the Sage Tug Conference. I don't know if anyone on the call is going to be there, but it's going to be super awesome. So if you are interested in meeting us in person, I know I will be there the 13th through the 16th, and hope that you can join us. Don't forget, if you want to learn more, of course, you can scan the QR code on the screen. You can get in touch with your Aktion rep, email any of these email addresses, go to the website, all the different ways to get a hold of us in case you want to learn a little bit more about the way we can impact your business.